The phrase sounds warm, harmless, even liberating. Be yourself. It's offered as advice, encouragement, sometimes even as a moral rule. Parents say it to children. Teachers repeat it. Friends use it when you're anxious. Motivational speakers build entire talks around it. Social media turns it into slogans. On the surface, it feels like permission to exist freely. But beneath that softness is a quiet deception that almost no one questions. When people say be yourself, they are rarely talking about the raw, unfiltered version of you. They are talking about a version of you that is convenient, predictable, non-threatening, and socially acceptable to them. The advice isn't neutral, it's conditional. It carries invisible boundaries that you are expected to understand without being told. Think back to the first time you were told to be yourself. It probably wasn't in a vacuum. You were in a situation where you felt pressure. A new school, a job interview, a social gathering, a relationship. Someone sensed your hesitation and tried to calm you. Just be yourself, they said. What they meant was not express every thought, desire, and instinct you have. What they meant was act normal. Don't disrupt the environment. Don't make me uncomfortable. Or stay within the range of behaviors I already approve of. The moment yourself steps outside that range, the encouragement disappears. Suddenly, you're told you're too intense, too quiet, too ambitious, too emotional, too cold, too different. The same people who told you to be yourself will now tell you to tone it down, adjust, compromise, or change. This contradiction isn't accidental. It reveals the real function of the phrase. Be yourself is often a social control mechanism disguised as kindness. Society does not reward authenticity. It rewards conformity that looks like authenticity. The difference matters. Real authenticity is unpredictable. It challenges norms. It disrupts expectations. It forces others to confront perspectives they may not like. That kind of authenticity is uncomfortable, and discomfort is something most people actively avoid. So instead, society creates a narrow definition of what an acceptable self looks like. You are encouraged to be confident, but not threatening, honest, but not inconvenient, passionate, but not obsessive, unique, but not strange, independent, but not uncontrollable. The moment your self-expression crosses into territory that demands adaptation from others, you are subtly, or not so subtly, punished. This is why the advice feels comforting at first, but hollow over time. People follow it and still feel lost. They be themselves, and yet feel invisible, misunderstood, or stuck. They start wondering if something is wrong with them. In reality, they've been following a rule that was never designed to help them grow, only to help them fit. The idea of a single, fixed self is itself misleading. Human beings are not static. You are not one thing. You are context-sensitive, adaptive, layered. You behave differently with family than with strangers, differently at work than alone, differently when confident than when afraid. None of these versions are fake. They are all parts of you. Pretending that there is one true, pure self you should always express ignores how humans actually function. Yet be yourself implies exactly that. It suggests that somewhere inside you is a stable identity that, once expressed, will solve your problems. That belief is comforting because it removes responsibility. If success doesn't come, you can tell yourself, "I'm just being myself," as if that alone should be enough. But the world does not operate on fairness. It operates on feedback, adaptation, and power dynamics. People who succeed socially, professionally, and strategically are rarely the ones who blindly be themselves. They are the ones who understand when to reveal which part of themselves. They know how to read the room. They know when authenticity builds trust and when it creates resistance. They don't confuse self-awareness with self-indulgence. There's a deeper reason the phrase persists. It protects the status quo. If you believe that being yourself is the ultimate goal, you are less likely to question the systems you exist within. You internalize failure. You assume that if you're not advancing, it must be because you haven't fully embraced who you are yet. You look inward instead of outward. You work on your mindset instead of examining the structures that reward certain behaviors and punish others. This is incredibly useful for institutions, workplaces, and social hierarchies. It keeps people compliant while believing they are free. You are encouraged to express yourself, but only within the lanes already laid out for you. As long as you stay in those lanes, you are praised for your authenticity. The moment you challenge them, you are labeled difficult, unrealistic, or problematic. Notice how often "be you." When you stop taking "be yourself" at face value, something unsettling begins to surface. You start noticing patterns you were never supposed to consciously see. You see how different rules apply to different people. You see how the same behavior is praised in one person and punished in another. You see how authenticity is celebrated only when it comes from those who already hold social permission. This is where the real discomfort begins. Because the world does not respond to truth evenly. It responds to power, status, familiarity, and framing. The same sentence spoken by two different people can land in opposite ways. The same personality trait can be labeled confidence in one and arrogance in another. The same silence can be seen as mystery or weakness, depending on who is silent. When people say, "be yourself," they ignore this asymmetry completely. They speak as if the world is a neutral stage, and you are simply an actor choosing whether to wear a mask. But the stage is not neutral. It is tilted. Some people are amplified, others are filtered out. Some identities are rewarded by default. Others are questioned, corrected, or softened until they fit. This is why unapologetic authenticity is often punished before it is ever respected. When someone expresses themselves without regard for social comfort, they disrupt expectations. Disruption triggers defense. Defense turns into labels: difficult, intense, weird, arrogant, unprofessional. These labels are not descriptions, they are control tools. They signal to the person and to others that this behavior falls outside the acceptable range. Over time, most people learn to preempt these labels by self-editing. They don't wait to be corrected. They correct themselves. This becomes so automatic that they believe it is their personality. They say things like, "I'm just not that outspoken," or "I'm not really ambitious," or "I don't like conflict." When in reality, they learned, through repetition, that speaking up, wanting more, or pushing back came with consequences. Be yourself conveniently ignores how much of the self is shaped by punishment and reward. The people who appear most authentic are often those who have never been meaningfully challenged for being who they are. Their traits align with what their environment values. Their confidence is welcomed. Their opinions are taken seriously. Their presence doesn't threaten the structure. For them, authenticity feels safe. For others, it feels risky. This is why advice from successful people often fails when copied blindly. They describe outcomes without acknowledging the invisible protections that allowed those outcomes. They say, "just be yourself." But what they really mean is, "be someone like me, in a system that already works for me." There is also a deeper psychological trap hidden in the phrase. It encourages people to cling to their current identity, even when that identity is limiting. It frames change as inauthentic. Growth becomes betrayal. Learning influence feels fake. Adapting behavior feels dishonest. This keeps people emotionally pure, but practically powerless. The truth is uncomfortable. The self is not sacred. It is plastic. It evolves whether you consciously shape it or not. Every environment you enter rewires you slightly. Every relationship reinforces some behaviors and weakens others. You are always becoming someone. The only question is whether you are doing it intentionally or passively. People who cling tightly to being themselves often confuse ego with integrity. They defend habits, reactions, and coping mechanisms as if they were moral truths. They say, "That's just how I am," when faced with feedback, not realizing that this phrase is often a shield against effort, not an expression of self-respect. Integrity is about values. Behavior is about strategy. The two are not the same. You can value honesty and still choose timing. You can value kindness and still enforce boundaries. You can value authenticity and still manage perception. These are not contradictions. They are signs of maturity. But the cultural narrative rarely makes this distinction. Instead, it romanticizes raw expression. Say what you feel. Show who you are. Don't change for anyone. These ideas sound empowering, but they quietly sabotage people who live in complex systems where perception determines access. The people who understand this don't announce it. They move differently. They don't overshare. They don't explain themselves unnecessarily. They don't mistake emotional release for truth. They are selective, not because they are fake, but because they understand cost. Every expression has a price. Every reaction teaches others how to treat you. Every habit becomes a signal. This is where power quietly enters the conversation. Power changes how authenticity is interpreted. When you have leverage, people call you bold. When you don't, they call you reckless. When you have status, silence is depth. With you,